What's up, Toy Fam, and welcome back to another episode of your Totally Cool channel. Now, you may be wondering, where the heck are we? Totally different from our usual setup where you see a bunch of Transformers behind me. Well, it's not because we decided to change it up, but more of we went down a rabbit hole and we couldn't find our way out of it. You know when you start collecting something and then you go back and say, hey, I loved Transformers when I was a kid. And they said, I also loved this, I also loved that. And then you start collecting one figure, and then you get another one, and then before you realize, your house is like a toy store. And that's what happened to me. If you're wondering, behind us right now is a bunch of a bunch of items that are non-Transformers. So just to give you a little bit of intro, these are Super 7 Thundercats. I loved them when I was a kid. And then the space version, you have the Super 7 Silverhawks. On my right is a familiar toy. We featured this on a previous episode, and that's the Iron Man Mark V mask. And it's on a row where you have all the MCU Iron Man armors from DLX-30, and on the bottom, which you can't see, they're all ZD Toys Iron Man MCU armors, which we will be featuring in later episodes. But before we get into that, let's look at the guy beside us. And this was a toy I could not, and I say I could not resist. I didn't care about the value. I didn't care if it was going to go up in terms of value, but loved it when I was a kid. Started the whole modern era. You can argue with me about this, but I think this particular character started the modern superhero era. Long gone were the days of spandex and leotards and stretchable materials and trunks outside the pants with the recurring joke on Superman. So before we go further into this, what we have is the gold label Batman and Batmobile. Love this toy. Love this toy. Love the box. And love the character it represents. Michael Keaton, to me, is the Batman. The Batman. And I know there will be people who will be arguing with me. But I respect your opinion. But Michael Keaton, like I said, is the Batman. He was the gateway to every modern superhero film up to this date. So, as we join us, as we review the toy, as we look back into the character, as we dig deeper into the character, and let's take a closer look. Now let's take a closer look at the McFarlane gold label Batman and Batmobile. This was inspired by the 1989 movie starring Michael Keaton. Front of the box, you have Michael Keaton's Batman. It's supposed to be a 6 or 7 inch figure, and you have a portion of the Batmobile. It says 22 inches long for the Batmobile, or 60 centimeters. And you have the iconic Bat logo. Just a history about this Bat logo. When they first came out with this in 1989, things just went nuts. People went crazy over it. Let's look at the top. The top part, same thing, same art. Okay. On the right flap, you see the Bat logo, Batman and Batmobile, Batman, McFarlane Toys. On the left flap, and you see the same thing. At the back, you see a closer, a better look, a better picture of the Batmobile, and a more detailed look at Michael Keaton's Batman with the iconic yellow emblem, yellow background on the emblem, and the gold or yellow bat belt. And on the picture On the corner, you see that this figure can actually fit and people were up in arms that Mr. Mom was going to be Batman. But after the first showing, and people saw how Michael Keaton transformed into Bruce Wayne, and there was a definite difference between Bruce Wayne and Batman. Right now, I think people are saying he's probably, arguably, the best Batman of all. No offense to Christian Bale, no disrespect to all the others, including Adam West. But the movie version of the Batman is Michael Keaton. Arguably. So the 1989 movie starred Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale, and Michael Gough as Alfred. Now Alfred, the guy who portrayed Alfred, was the only guy who was the same character, portrayed the same character in all four Batman movies: Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. Okay, off the bat, looking at this figure, it's got a nice thickness to it. It's pretty heavy. The joints are pretty solid. If you look at the knees, there's a double joint. There's a double peg. So that means the knees fold two different ways, and it's ratcheted, so it's stable. Okay. So it's kind of locked in place. You have an ankle movement. Okay, yeah, you can move the ankle, you can move the knees to two-jointed movement. The cape is cloth, so it's got a nice. It doesn't have that rubbery feel to it. Although the original costume was foam latex, it was made of foam latex pieces over a neoprene bodysuit. So there was heavy armor on the chest, on the cowl, and the forearms and the boots. Okay? Now, did you know that the Bat boot was actually based on the Nike Air Jordan 3s? That's something you didn't know. Or some of you Bat fanatics would probably know. These were Nike Air Jordan 3s, and they were called Nike Air Trainer 3s back then. It was colored black, and then they did something to it, and rumor has it Michael Keaton still has it at home. Okay, so there's armor on the forearms, on the chest, on the boots, and now if you would notice, this is the first time that Batman came out in all black and yellow styling instead of the blue and gray look, the classic blue and gray comic look. Now this figure has the classic yellow belt, which is to break the outline of the black, which was what Tim Burton, the director, insisted to have. At the same time, this was the first costume of Batman that did not have the trunks, the visible trunks. You know, always running joke, why is Batman wearing his briefs outside of his pants? Or the same way with Robin, or Superman. And then you have the cowl connected to the headpiece and the cape. So in this case, in the movie, you would see that Michael Keaton would turn his whole body. Okay, this one has a waist twist also. Turn his whole body like this because this was so locked into place that he can't move his neck. But this toy, you can. Okay, there's a neck movement over there. There's a double elbow. And you can also move the hands, move the fist. Okay. Good thing about this is that it comes with its own stand. It's a nice disc. It says DC. There's a hole in the boot, and you could put the peg in the hole. Okay. It's nice and tight. What I really like about this is it's nice and tight. It could really stand and do some nice poses for you. So that's Batman. And personally, I like this one. I like this. I don't have a lot of Batman things in my collection, but I'm glad I opened this one up because it's I think I'm going to keep him out of the box for a while. Okay, now moving on. Let's put him in the back, and we'll open what you all came here to see. Let's put the fins on the side, and let's get this big guy out of his cage. Okay, there's the tape. Now, the Batmobile. Wow. Oh, wow. That is a sexy, sexy toy. Now, before we get into that, let's look at these fins. I hope I don't put them... Okay. The key to putting the fins on... Sorry. The key to putting the fins on is that there's a peg at the bottom. There are 3 pegs at the bottom. 2 short ones and a long one. On the back of the Batmobile, there are slots for a long one and 2 short ones. Also has letter L, letter R for left and right. Although this one has the L, so you really can't mess this up unless you wanted to. Okay, you just have to be very gentle with it. Be very, very gentle, and it slots into place. When it's there, it's locked firmly. I think you can remove it if you want to put it back in the box, or I think even if it's got the fins on, it would fit inside the box. Okay, top part first, then the bottom, and then the long fin or the long peg. Hope I'm doing this right. Okay. Okay. There we go. Oops. Don't be scared when you hear a lot of clicking and clacking, because it's just the plastic trying to get into its own slot. Okay, now that the fins are on, let's do a profile review. Let's do a profile review. On the side, you see the Bat logo on the tires. Let's look at the tires first. Okay. Bat logo on both rims. Okay. On the hubcap, I think that's what you call it. And you have portions of the engine sticking out. And then these are supposed to be the exhaust or the intakes. The intakes. When they designed the Batmobile back in 1989, they had an idea of what it was going to look like. It was It's supposed to be a combination of a tank and a jet fighter and something. Eventually, they came out with a combination or a marriage between the Salt Flat Racers of the 1930s and the Stingray Macho machines. So this is a combination of those various designs put together. Trivia, another bad trivia. The Batmobile hypothetically can go 530 kilometers per hour, which is like an airplane instead of a car. And it was designed by Bob Ringwood, using the inspiration from Tim Burton. Okay, now let's look at the front. Look at the front. The signature of this Batmobile is the long face, if you would call it that, the long face, and then the fins that looks like Batman's cape flowing in the air. Okay, so you have this nice turbine intake, which I think it's a nice turbine intake. Sucks air in, gives it the nice flow. Now the lines of this car really makes you think it's gonna go fast. It looks fast sitting. Okay. On the left side, pretty much the same of what's on the right side. Now the thing about these tires is that when you turn this, the other side turns as well. Okay, so it's like it's got one bar that connects both wheels. Okay, so if you want, you can just balance this out, make sure the other one's the same as the Bat logo, same as leveled. Now on the back, this is where the action is. Part of the movie that made it really exciting was when they showed Batman jetting on the road through Gotham City, and when you see, flames bursting through this exhaust, just like the Batmobile of the series, the Adam West series, and it has become an iconic look to the Batmobile ever since there was a Batmobile until Christian Bale's Tumblr. Okay, now the bottom part is pretty straightforward. It's just, but for something you rarely see on a toy, something you rarely look at a toy, they've put some thought into this. You have the Bat logo at the bottom, and you have details of the turbine. For some, they would just make this flat because you don't look at it. People don't see it. But they put the detail. It looks like, look at the turbine going through the exhaust and some of the pipes coming from inside. The tire treads are also amazing because they look like real tires. They weren't lazy when they made this. They weren't lazy. They really put some nice details on this. Now I forgot to mention on the back you have the taillights popping out with the red, the orange. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. The thought they put into this. It's not as extravagant as, say, other vehicles, but the detail, it's minimal, but it's detailed. Batman can fit inside the Batmobile. How do we do this? There is a button here. There's a button here you can press. It unlocks the cockpit and it slides forward. Now I want you to take a look at this, what's inside. Okay, and it's really detailed. Now the only difference between this Batmobile and the 1989 Batmobile was that Batmobile had a passenger seat. If you would recall a scene in the movie where Batman rescued Vicky Vale, he had her sit beside him. This one is a one-seater. Okay, it's a one-seater. Okay, you see the steering wheel, you see the different various instrument on the panel, and unfortunately there's no seatbelt. I don't know why Batman would not have a seatbelt. Alright. Now, again, I would like to put your focus on the detail. The silver paint that pops off the black. And then the matte black that just in the dark is captured by the night, you know? So, now the interior is glossy black, in contrast to the matte black finish on the outside. Now, let's pull this back again. Now, the Batmobile is supposed to have various weapons, including a bomb. I think the bomb came out of this one. And then he has machine guns. Although Batman does not kill, he uses machine guns to remove obstructions or to break through walls or something, or any obstacle. So Batman does not kill, or at least this version of Batman does not kill. Alright. Now, like I said, you press this button, it pops the lock, okay? It lifts up, you slide it forward. Okay? Now let's remove Batman from his pedestal, or his peg, and try to put him in a sitting pose. And in he goes. Oops. Make sure that his cape does not prevent him from sitting properly. Okay. Oops. Okay. I think this is the better way to do it. There we go. Okay. Okay. Put his legs closer and slot him right in. There we go. Now he's in. Put his arm on the steering wheel. His hand right over. Okay. There we go. He's in. I think there's a better way of doing this. Haven't figured that out yet. There we go. There we go. Just slide it back. It's supposed to lock in place and lock him securely. I don't know. There we go. He's in. Now he's ready to cruise through Gotham City and fight crime. Of course, when they come up with a bat signal, that's his sign to heed the call of the commissioner and the people of Gotham. Although they say that the bat signal is supposed to also strike fear in the hearts of criminals. So, bat signal in itself is a deterrent, because when criminals who are not the target of the Batman see the bat signal, they feel paranoid and they think that it's them. They stop doing what they're doing, and crime rates drop. Okay, so that is our review for Batman, the Batmobile. Okay, now the bottom part is pretty straightforward. It's just, but for something you rarely see on a toy, something you rarely look at a toy, they've put some thought into this. You have the Bat logo at the bottom, and you have details of the turbine. You know, for some, they would just make this flat because you don't look at it. People don't see it. But they put the detail. It looks like, look at the turbine going through the exhaust and some of the pipes coming from inside. The tire treads are also amazing because they look like real tires. They weren't lazy when they made this. They weren't lazy. They really put some nice details on this. Now, I forgot to mention on the back you have the taillights popping out with the red, the orange. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. The thought they put into this. It's not as extravagant as, say, other vehicles, but the detail. It's minimal, but it's detailed. Look, I just can't get enough of how this toy looks. But as I mentioned earlier, it's very minimalistic. It's a perfect tribute to the Tim Burton approach to Batman. Can it be better? Of course, every toy can be better. But given the price point, given the detail, given the playability, I could have asked for more. So let's go down into the rating. First, the look. The look for me is a 5 out of 5 because it evokes nostalgia. You know, it reminds me of a 9-year-old me sitting inside a movie theater, seeing this car just cruise through the very first time. Price point, it's a 4 out of 5. Could be cheaper, but given how it's constructed, the weight, the heft, I think it's good. It's quite expensive if you're a casual collector, but if you're mid-range, or if you're an avid fan, or if you're just a toy collector, a 1980s toy collector, or you're a nostalgic kid in a grown man's body, then I think the price is just about right. The playability. The playability of this, now I can't get enough of this. The rail, the lock, and then the inconspicuous unlocking mechanism allows you to slide it forward so Batman can get in. It's a 5 out of 5. Now let's look at Batman. There's never been a toy like this in the 80s. And it's a good thing that they did come out with very close to the real thing, Michael Keaton Batman. Only problem I have with this is the cloth cape, because Batman's cape in 1989 was not cloth. It looked like a big piece of rubber. So if this was that material, I'd give it a 5 out of 5. But all in all, the look, how it blends well with the Batmobile, I think it's a solid 4.5. So that ends our review of the 1989 Gold Label Collection McFarlane Batman and Batmobile. And don't forget to click on like if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Click on the bell button so you'll be notified for future content that we would post. I just want to get back to playing with this guy. So that being said, thank you for watching. We hope to see you on our next episodes, and happy collecting.